is up? My name is Megan and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. I hope you guys are doing well and staying safe, and welcome to today's video, which is my list of anticipated reads for 2025. This list includes around 40 books from a multitude of genres, including middle grade, romance, fantasy, some romantasy, and thrillers, though my first loves, or the books I look forward to most, are middle grade, romance, and fantasy, so that is what you will primarily see in this list. I will say I have not included any indie published books because the way of publishing does not work the same for indie and traditional, so this is traditionally published books only, and some dates are for the UK releases if I found them on Waterstones, and others are for the US or Canada. I will let you know if the dates are UK, just so you know the distinction, and I'll let you know which I pre-ordered and which I did not, because obviously I did not pre-order 40 books. The list is in like release dates, so we'll start with January and move our way I think up until September, and just letting you guys know I do make follow-up videos to these later on in the year when I've heard of more books, so I will be creating more and possibly including indie books on those lists, so if that's what you're looking for, stay tuned for more. Let's not blab further and let's hop on into the video. Starting off with a little bit of a cheat, because I'm going to talk to you guys about a book that releases on December 31st, but was supposed to actually be released in 2025, so it's kind of like a heads up that this book is actually coming out sooner than we expected, and that is Better Than Revenge by Casey West, which if you are not new here, you will know how much I love Casey West and have been excited for a new release of hers, especially because this one has the podcasting element, which we found in my favorite book of hers, which I have a full review, I'll leave that down below. But this one is about a girl who wanted this specific like podcasting job, and her ex-boyfriend actually gets it, and so she enlists the help of her nemesis in order to get revenge. I hope there's an audio for this. I love the audiobooks with podcast elements in them, but I'm not sure if there will. Either way, this is one I pre-ordered, and it's coming out only in paperback. Moving on to actual books coming out in January 2025. The first I have on my list is Beg, Borrow, or Steal by Sarah Adams, which is the third like Rome, Kentucky book in her series of companion novels. The first was When in Rome, and then we had Practice with Makes Perfect, so we are returning to Kentucky Rome for this third installment. I am super hyped for this. Sarah Adams is definitely an author if you are looking for a romance with low or no steam. She has some closed door romances as well, so just putting that out there, but I absolutely love her, and this is one I have also pre-ordered. Then we have a young adult fantasy, I believe, which is A Language of Dragons, that comes out on January 7th in the US and Canada, but I think the book comes out like on the 2nd of January in the UK, and some subscription boxes have this book selected for December. But this is a book set in an alternate London where a girl accidentally breaks a truce between dragons and humans, and it's the first, I think, in a series. I'm not sure, I've heard it's maybe a retelling of something, but it says it's perfect for fans of Fourth Wing and Babel, so make of that what you will. I've heard a lot of buzz, and this is one I'm again super excited for and have pre-ordered. Then also on January 7th, it is a very heavy release day. We have Into the Woods by Jenny Holiday, which is a rock star and dance instructor summer camp romance that sounds absolutely adorable. Jenny Holiday is a Canadian author, if I'm not mistaken, which is also really fun, and I've heard good things about her books, primarily because this is not a debut, and it's like enemies to lovers. This is one I'm gonna wait to see more people read and pick up first, and if I hear great things about it, I will most likely pick it up. Then again on January 7th, we have The Life Cycle of the Common Octopus, which is by Emma Knight, and it is a literary fiction about female friendship, motherhood, and there's like a mystery about a British family all intertwined together. I just think it sounds very intriguing. I have been loving literary fiction, and for some reason always gravitate to literary fiction where an octopus comes into play in some way, shape, or form. I don't know why, but this is one I have on my radar, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna wait until I can like borrow it from someone or find it for a cheaper price, though it is on my radar as well. And if you like lit fic, this might be one you're anticipating as well. And then I think my last for January 7th is Breath of the Dragon Birthmarked, I think, which is a fantasy by an author who I'm lagging on, but I know has other books. And this is about a young warrior who dreams of like entering this guardian tournament. And I think that's gonna be the plot. So it's like a tournament kind of situation, which I think is one of my favorite things in fantasy. I really love like tournament style books or like battles in fantasy, so I think this one is interesting. And I'm not sure if it's gonna have like an academia vibe, if that person is gonna have to train to go to that tournament, is there gonna be something more to it, but I know it's by very well-known authors and I've heard some buzz around it, so I did want to mention it. And I think this one has a first edition print run with sprayed edges as well. Then another I am super interested in is Daughter of Chaos, which is by A.S. Webb. It comes out on January 14th in the US and Canada, but I think it's the same release date for the UK, and I will say Waterstones does have an exclusive edition of that one, but I love the cover of the US one as well, so it was a whole debate, but I did end up going with the US edition, but the UK one is bloody beautiful as well. So this is a Greek mythology reimagining kind of story about a fisherman's daughter transformed by eating a golden apple and charged with a determination to bring down the gods. So it's like a lot of buzzwords for me. I love stories with gods, what I've learned this year, and Greek myth is always super interesting to see played out in fantasy. I haven't heard anyone speak of this. I don't know if anyone has read this, but this is one I have pre-ordered. And then we have Spiral, which is by the same author as Collide, which was a big hit both on TikTok and BookTube this year. It's a romance, and this is a fake dating sports romance with grumpy sunshine, pretend married, small town, and there is no spice in it. So it's a closed door romance, and the cover is stunning. This is one I haven't pre-ordered because I have so many unread romances on my shelves, but if I hear really great things, I could possibly be tempted to grab this one as well. Next, on January 21st, we have Give Me Butterflies, which is a STEM romance that is pitched as like for people who like Ali Hazelwood, obviously, and it's between like two museum curators at a science museum. It sounds wonderful. The cover is also absolutely adorable. This is another I'm gonna wait to see some more reviews of, and if it fits the bill, it's definitely one I see myself purchasing later at a later date. Then we have The Secrets of Underhill by Callie Wallace, which comes out on January 28th, which is a middle grade book I'm super like hyped about. It's a young apprentice who fights to save an ancient grove of magical trees, and it's pitched as perfect for fans of Kelly Barnhill and Jessica Townsend, which like what a combination of authors to pitch together. I think this one is going to be a wonderful middle grade. A little bit outside what I usually read, but I think I will really enjoy it nonetheless. The last book I have for January is The Hunt for the Golden Scarab by M.G. Leonard. There is a Waterstones exclusive edition of that one, which I have pre-ordered, and I forgot to mention that I did pre-order the book I just talked about as well. And this is a book by M.G. Leonard, who is part of the Adventures on Train series. Honestly, I don't need to know more than that. I'm just super excited that they are coming out with a new book, which I believe is going to be the first in a series. Then in February, the first release I have is on February 4th for The Ice Apprentice by Jacob North, which is pitched as perfect for fans of Skandar and wild lore. It's a compelling middle grade book about a magical apprentice in a land of ice and snow, and I feel like this is going to be so many of my favorite things, because if you don't know, like Fireborn, which is right over there, is a middle grade about like it's set in a cold setting, and I really enjoy those. And if you're going to pitch something similar to Skandar, which again I have devoted my entire channel to, I'm hoping it's going to be as much of a hit as them, and I know this is releasing in hardcover in the US and Canada and in paperback for the UK, but I don't remember the exact date of the UK release. Then again on February 4th, we have another very obvious release, and that is Deep End by Ali Hazelwood, which is getting a first edition print run with special like sprayed edges. This is a swimmer romance with, I believe, a ace swimmer and a diver. So it's like a college romance. I can't wait to see what she comes up with. But like, I love swim romances. There aren't a lot of them, and most of what I read was young adults, but can't wait. Also, I'm sorry for the background noises. My dog is going ham. She just had a bath and is like all over the place. Next, on February 11th, we have The Labyrinth of Souls by Leslie Vedder, which is another middle grade. This one is more spooky. It's for fans of Tim Burton, and it's about a girl who can see nightmare creatures, and there's like a labyrinth of souls of some sort. This is one I'm on the fence about. I don't know if I'm gonna love it or not, so I'm gonna wait out and again see if there are any reviews of this book, because spooky middle grade is not always my cup of tea. It depends on how the spooky is done, so we'll see. But I have hope for this one, and eventually I'm pretty sure I'm going to end up getting it. Then moving on to March, this first one I'm going to talk about is one I'm most excited about in this entire video, which is Dragonborn, which comes out on March 5th in the UK. I haven't seen a publication for this book in the US, and it is a book that is pitched as for fans of Skandar and the Unicorn Thief and Impossible Creatures by Catherine Rundle, I think is the author. And it's just like, I'm so excited. The cover looks amazing. The entirety of it is just right up my alley. I think this is one I'm going to want to read and review for you guys for sure. So one of my most anticipated. Also, yes, the dog has come to join us. I'm so sorry for the chaos that is this video. Then we have on March 6th, Vanya and the Wild Hunt. This is another middle grade book that I think I'm going to absolutely adore. It is pitched for fans of Skandar, Fireborn, and Greenwild, which are three, again, heavy hitters. I feel like a lot of books are being compared to Skandar now, which, because it's so big, I'm not sure how accurate the comparison is. Maybe I can do a video series about like reading books that are compared to Skandar and seeing how it compares. We should see. But this is another one that looks very intriguing. The cover is different for the US and the UK, but it will be published in like both areas of the world, and it sounds wonderful and right up my alley. I'm loving all the middle grade releases for the month of March, because March is my birthday, and it's probably one of the only months I'm really going to allow myself to buy books, and obviously those two have been pre-ordered. Then on March 18th, we have 9-Month Contract by Amy Dawes, which is a book that was traditionally that is being traditionally published but was indie published prior, and I heard about this book actually on TikTok, wanted to see what the buzz was about, and then realized that it had been picked up by a publisher, which means it's now like not available and will be re-released in March with like a first print run edges as well. And this is like small town, grumpy, sunshine, with an age gap, and it's like pitched for fans of Megan Quinn and Tessa Bailey. Tessa Bailey comparisons always a little bit throw me off because I'm not the biggest fan of Tessa Bailey, but I do like Megan Quinn, so we'll see what the reviews say about this one. I'm still on the fence on whether or not I pre-order it, but it does sound like a really fun time. Then on March 25th, which is so close to my birthday is March 22nd, is A River of Spirits, which is another middle grade book that is getting a limited first print run, kind of like the last Dragon Numbers, which is a book that came out this year, which I was super anticipating. This one is getting the same kind of treatment, and it is a debut middle grade about a girl that is caught between realms, between the living and the dead, and she gets lost in the underworld. And this is pitched for fans of Rick Riordan and Greenwild, which Rick Riordan definitely gives the vibes with like the underworld and stuff. So I'm really excited to see what I think about that one, but honestly, it's stunning. I love what they did with the first print run, and that is one that I did also pre-order. Lots of strong middle grade. Then on March 27th, we have, I think, one of the only mystery thrillers I have on my list, and it is The Vipers, which is by Katie Hayes, and there is an exclusive Waterstones edition I am debating pre-ordering, but this is a island set murder mystery and is pitched as for fans of The Guest List, which is like my all-time favorite thriller. It's debatable. I know a lot of people don't love it, but I personally was a fan. And it's like about the super wealthy family and like unanswered questions. It's set on an island. It sounds like a lot of fun, and I do love the aesthetic of this book. It's unlike a lot of thrillers I've seen aesthetically, and I am probably gonna wait and see what people think about it before purchasing, but it's one that's like in the back of my head all the time, and I think it's gonna be a hit for me thriller wise, even though I'm not so much in my thriller era anymore. Then on April 10th, we have the sequel to Paper Dragons, which is The Rise of Sand Spirits, which is the second book in a middle grade series. I talked about Paper Dragons last year, how it was an anticipated release. It was a book club pick for my book club, and so I'm obviously anticipating the second book, and it is also one that I have pre-ordered. Then on April 24th, you guys, it's big release day. Usually Skandar also releases on the same day as Emily Henry, which I'm getting to, but there is no release date so far that I've seen for Skandar 5, but we did get 2 Skandar books in 2024, so this is one I'm keeping an eye on, but it's not on my list. But Emily Henry is on my list with Great Big Beautiful Life, which is about 2 writers who compete for the chance to tell a larger-than-life story. And obviously Emily Henry is queen, but my favorite Emily Henry is when Emily Henry writes about writers. I think this one is going to be iconic, and I'm so excited. Another middle grade book, which I would probably give my soul away to read early, is Dreamslinger by Gracie Kim, which is pitched as Amari and the Night Brother meets Pokemon in a new fantasy series, and it's based in Seoul, I believe, and it's like there's phoenixes, there's a whole lot happening in this book. The cover for the UK edition, which I did pre-order the UK edition, but there is a release for the US as well, is so dreamy and stunning. I'm obsessed. I love the US cover as well. Like, I would take any, but the UK cover takes the cake for one of my favorite covers. It is so beautiful, and like Amari meets Pokemon is a combination I didn't know I needed. Then we have a book that I feel like has been pushed back for a year without really any explanation. It just keeps getting pushed back, and that is A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. It was supposed to release like so long ago now, and it keeps getting pushed back. So I'm not even sure what's going to happen with this book. Is it going to release in April? Could not tell you. Another book, which is confusing me because I see some release dates for 2025 and others for 2026, so I'm sorry if this is incorrect information, but I did see that Hidden Tales, which is a middle grade fantasy about 2 orphan siblings with a mysterious island hotel, and is pitched as like for fans of The House at the Edge of Magic, should be coming out on May 1st, but then I also see a release date for 2026. So I don't know when this book is releasing, but either way, this is definitely one that is on my radar, and I will purchase once I know when the heck it actually releases. On May 5th, we also have the sequel to Tide Magic. It's Fitz and the Impossible Key, which is the sequel to a middle grade that I did mention. I have not read this one yet, but it is on my radar. If I enjoy the first one, I will obviously pre-order book 2, but I could not tell you what it's about for the present moment, just that it's a sequel if you were anticipating it. And I believe on May 5th as well, or close to that, we have A Box Full of Murders by Janice Hallett, which is a famous like adult mystery writer, but she is doing her debut middle grade book, and it's like an interactive structure. I don't know what this book is going to look like, but I have been intrigued by this author, and the fact that like they're venturing into middle grade is really like talking to me, and I'm probably going to end up purchasing this book once it releases. But like the fact that it's like an interactive structure, I don't really know what that's gonna be like, but I'm curious. And yeah, she's the author of The Appeal, so I've heard great things. Then I will insert the date here because I totally forgot to write it down, but we have Skulkmore by Hannah Took, which is like a Wednesday meets The Secret Garden with a touch of Knives Out in a mysterious adventure. I think I recall this being middle grade, but I could be like off the rails. I will put corrections on the screen. For some reason I'm blanking, but I know this is one I have pre-ordered, and I'm fairly certain that this is middle grade. But like the fact that we're talking like Wednesday, which is very gothic, with Knives Out, which is a mystery, and then The Secret Garden, which totally different vibes, was so intriguing to me. So this is another one that is definitely on my radar. Then, for probably what is like the 4th year in a row, I'm going to talk about Silverborn, which is the 4th book in the Nevermore series. It's supposed to come out in June, like June 24th, I believe. This book, again, the whole saga of it being pushed back for like 4 years now, and I know a lot of the readership has moved on from Nevermore, and I've seen a lot of people be like, it's been so long, I don't even care to pick up the next book. And I'm like, how is this gonna impact the continuation of the Nevermore series? I don't know, but I for one have been waiting so long, and like the more I wait, the more I want it. So I will be reading it, and spoiler alert, in 2025 I will be hosting a read along. I have read the first 3 books so many times, but I do want to refresh my memory, so we'll be reading up on the books, 1 book a month until the book releases. I wanted to do that this year, but then it was pushed back for like the millionth time. But I'm hopeful this is the year. And then another book I'm so excited about comes out on July 1st, and that is Blood in the Water by Tiffany D. Jackson, who is like one of my favorite authors when it comes to like mysteries. She wrote Grown, and ever since then I was like, yes, sign me up for Tiffany D. Jackson. She's writing a middle grade. The cover for this is stunning and haunting all at once. Really, really love it. And it's, yeah, a middle grade, can't put down a mystery type deal, and this one I have also pre-ordered. On July 3rd, I'm not switching them up. Yes, on July 3rd is The Mythmaker, which is from the author of The Hatmakers, and this is a new book, which is a reimagining of the young life of Merlin, Arthur, and Guinevere. It's a middle grade book that is a retelling of the Arthurian legends. I have never read from this author before, because even though I've heard so many great things about them, I just have never found a book that like looked up my alley, but this one definitely does. This is another one that I have pre-ordered. Then on July 17th, there is a new book by Holly Jackson, which is Not Quite Dead Yet, and I slowly have given up on Holly Jackson. I have read some of the Good Girls Guide to Murder series. I read her book after that, but then I just kind of fell off the bandwagon. I was not going to read more of her, but this is actually her first adult book, and the fact that she is venturing from YA to adult makes me curious, and I do think that depending on the reviews, like if it's a good book, I'll probably pick it up just to see how she transitions from YA to adult, and maybe I'll love her more in her adult writing. Then on July 22nd, we have a romance that I'm super interested in, and it is Friends to Lovers by Sally Blake, which is like about 2 friends, who were always like each other's plus ones, wedding dates, childhood best friends, but they have never been past that, and I think it's like their last summer wedding and they'll fall in love. It's dual perspective, and it's compared as like a grown-up The Summer I Turned Pretty, which is interesting to me. I did enjoy The Summer I Turned Pretty, but I do think an adult version of that would be better, so I'm extremely excited for that one. Then on August 5th, we have Accomplice to the Villain, which should be, I think, the last book in the like Assistant to the Villain series, which again will probably have sprayed edges. I need to catch up on book 2, but I did really enjoy book 1 in this series, so it's what I'm keeping an eye on for sure. Then we have Cathabasis, I never know how to pronounce it, I will learn, which is the newest book by R.F. Kuang, which is academic rivals from Cambridge that travel to the underworld. Sign me up. I think this is gonna be another hit from R.F. Kuang, and I have read Yellow Face from her. I have not ventured into the Poppy War yet, but it's something I want to, as well as Babel, but this is kind of like Babel, but like underworld vibes is what I've been hearing, so I'm interested to see the reviews, and this is definitely one I have pre-ordered as well. The last book I have on, no, that's not true. The next book I have on my list is one that doesn't have a release date, but does have like its own page on Amazon, so it's kind of like I'm hopeful that this is gonna happen probably around that time, and that is the sequel to Nick Blake and the Remarkables, which is the Book of Annecy, which is like I loved Nick Blake and the Remarkables, but it's been like 2 years now, I think, since its release. So I was like, maybe just Angie Thomas fell off the wagon and we're never going to get book 2, but it appears we eventually are. I just don't know if it's going to be a 2025 release or when it will release, if it is a 2025 release. But keeping in mind that it does have like its page on Amazon, its cover is not revealed, but there is a title, I am hopeful. Then in September, it's pretty much like the last few books I have. We have The Poison King, which is the sequel to Impossible Creatures, which was like a really big heavy hitter middle grade book. This one has an exclusive hardback edition on Waterstones to go with their exclusive edition of Impossible Creatures. We also have around that time Hedge Witch 4, which is Stone Witch, the 4th book in a middle grade series that is also coming out, and those books are very hard to find in the US and Canada, at least in Canada, but I know I have pre-ordered my copy through the Waterstones website, and for the UK and like Australian people, they're very easy to access, but just know if you're in the US or Canada, it might be a little bit harder to find this series. And the last official book I have on this list is Inkbound, which is the newest book in the Inkheart series. I don't know if this is like a continuation, like a direct continuation, or if this is a spin-off series. I don't really know what the deal is, but I know everybody who has read and loved the Inkheart trilogy, I believe, is really excited for this new installment. I haven't read them yet. Inkheart is on my December TBR, but I just wanted to put it out there in case you're a fan or read Inkheart when you were younger and wish to continue with the series. I will say there are some other things I'm hoping will be announced and released in 2025. One of them I touched on is Scandar 5. I'm assuming because A.F. Stedman was ahead with her schedule that Scandar 5 should also be coming our way. Usually the Scandar releases are always in April, so we'll see if that changes because we got 2 Scandar books in a year. I also am looking forward to Amari 4, which I don't know. Amari 4 might come in 2025, might come in 2026. I don't really know. Usually it's a book a year, and it was taken up by a publisher for books 4 and 5. But I don't know if we will be getting it this year. Also, The Chronicles of Weatherwhy 2 I was hoping for, but that leads me to say that Anna James, the author of Pages & Co. The Chronicles of Weatherwhy, is coming out with another book in 2025, which I recently heard of like yesterday, which is Alice with a Y. And so I don't know if this is going to be her only release for 2025 or if she's planning on having Chronicles of Weatherwhy 2. So Alice with a Y is also one that I have pre-ordered from Waterstones. There's no cover, there's no description, but I know it's Anna James, so obviously it's pre-ordered, but I can't tell you more than that. And if any of those books go up for pre-order, you can bet your bottom I'll be pressing pre-order as quick as I can. So obviously this is not the most extensive list. There are so like hundreds of releases that are coming out in 2025, but if I've missed any that you think I would really enjoy, please let me know in the comments. Especially if it's like middle grade romance or fantasy, I'll take it. But I'm interested to see what you guys are interested in for 2025. Like, what are your anticipated releases? And if you have any questions or concerns, let me know in the comments. And as I said, I'll be back in a few months with another of these to keep you guys in the loop for releases. Happy reading, guys. Bye.